My good name is Wanjiro Kenywa, and I am very honored to be moderating this session. It's a very interesting conversation that we look forward to have, and we thank God for that. And with me, I have all of you. Of course, you are our VIPs, very important persons. Karibuni sana. If this was a physical meeting, trust me, we could have raised a glass of water or something that I know Sharon could have organized. But karibuni sana. I am a communications strategist by profession, a journalist, and I work closely with Sharon. And today we will be speaking about public speaking and storytelling. Trust you me, if I know at some point in life we have all found ourselves in a situation whereby it requires us to speak before an audience, whether it is in a boardroom, whether we are presenting something, whether it is when we were, when we were growing up in a classroom and we were required to, to present something. I know we have all found ourselves in such a situation where we need to just be in front of people and talk. And if you're not a very confident person, because trust you me, like for me, the first time I had to stand in front of people to speak, yo. But that is why we have professionals here. We have James Ruigu, who will be speaking to us today. And I see Sharon looking very beautiful, looking very glamorous. We can't even say it's at night here in Kenya. You're glowing. So karibu sana. Sharon is our host today. And I'm still buying time to see if we can still have more attendees. 43 of us. I see Jacqueline, I see Jessica, I see John, I see Joseph. I see every one of you. I'm still trying to buy time before I invite our host. As I said, you are the VIPs, and then Sharon is, Wenyeji, a resident. But I would love to hear from you, maybe an experience that you had that prompted you to enroll, especially for this session of public speaking and confident communication, because I say that communication is the gateway to everything that we do. When you're sleeping, when you're working, when you're conversing with a friend, in relationships, in friendships, in every other ship that you can think about, communication is very important. It's like the cornerstone of everything that we do. And that is why we need to master on how to communicate confidently, and also the art of public speaking. So before I bring in our very able host, Sharon, I was very tempted to call you Madam Sharon, but I also realized not everybody likes to be called Madam. So, and maybe if I can give you a brief introduction of who Sharon is. So Sharon is as I said, we have worked closely with Sharon for a number of years. She is a dynamic communication strategist as well, passionate about helping organizations and individuals to tell impactful stories that drive change. Yani, when you think about storytelling, think about a Sharon. Think about Sharon. She currently serves as the communications coordinator for Elimu, where she leads the development of communication strategies, media campaigns, and advocacy content to amplify women's voice and increase visibility for gender equality. So, as I said, today we are in the hands of very able professionals. So that is Sharon. She's a communication strategist. And we have our host today, James, not our host, but our guest, Yani the brains, the person who is going to be infusing his knowledge or their knowledge, because there are two of them, their knowledge to us. We have James Ruigu. At the heart of everything James Ruigu does lies a simple but powerful conviction. What James does is human connection. He believes in human connection sparking growth. His purpose has always been to bring people together, enable meaningful conversations, and create platforms where ideas turn into action. And the reason why I say we are in able hands is because the reason why we communicate is because we have an idea that we want to bring to table. And so James, with all his knowledge, with all his years of experience, creates platforms where ideas turn into action. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and the 52 of you who are attending and those who keep on attending and joining this amazing session, help me welcome our host, Sharon Kamau. We should have had a DJ here. Sharon, karibu. Sharon, I don't know if I'm the only person who can not hear you.
Yes, we can. I also can't hear Sharon.
Hey, Sharon, 1, 2 mic testing. Oh, hi, James.
Hi, Wanjiru, how are you?
Amazing, amazing. Sharon? Okay, as we wait for Sharon to maybe try and get okay, Sharon, not yet. We really cannot hear you at all.
I see from the chat she says we just continue as she sorts out her mic challenge.
Amazing, perfect. So James, karibu sana. I was just telling people that we are in very good hands today. I mean, you give people platforms to to develop the ideas that they have in their brains, in their minds, and bring them to the table. So karibu sana, James.
Thank you very much, Wanjiru.
And for every other person who is not from, East Africa, when I say karibu, yani, when I say karibu, I mean welcome. So if you hear a karibu word somewhere, just know that I mean welcome. So James, take over.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Wanjiru and Sharon. It's great to be amongst you all today. I hope you're all having a great evening, a great morning on whatever time zone you're on. It's pretty exciting to be taking you through the session on public speaking and confident communication. It will be fair enough for me to start off with my background and why I believe I'm the best person to be taking you through this session. And later on, I'll be joined by one of my colleagues called John Wafula, who is an excellent voice coach and also a communications strategist. And he'll also be sharing with us a couple of items that he's learned over time that will really help us in our progress or in our journeys to grow our public speaking and our confident communication. So a bit about myself. My name is James Ruigu. I do a couple of things. One of the things I do is I lead a community of young entrepreneurs called Attic Chapter. I am the education and partnerships lead. And so ideally, what we get to do is create a community where young entrepreneurs can belong. So we've realized that entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. And particularly for young entrepreneurs, then you're starting out in a system that you're not really trained for, and so it's at times lonely. So we get to form community for people to belong. And then the second thing is we create community for people to connect. Your network is your net worth, it's often said. And so what you get to do is have different value chains for businesses, and then structure it in such a way people connect within the value chains and also amongst each other across different value chains, and with industry experts that we do engage for our weekly Friday sessions. And the last thing, which is our key goal, is to grow both the entrepreneur as the number one resource in their business and their business as well. So we do get to facilitate transactions, which is our way of opening up market access to different people and to different businesses. I also lead startups for a company called Statinev. So primarily my roles or my work is around startups, building businesses, and with that comes a lot of public speaking and a lot of communication with whether it's customers, whether it's different partners, whether it's on stages, on global platforms. I've seen it all, and also getting to interact with different people in the space, even people who are building consultancies in communication and learning a thing or two. So along my journey, I've very much been involved in a lot of leadership positions. And as you may know, for all of you, with leadership often comes communication, and quite often comes public speaking as well. So starting from my high school days to my university days, to working, to engaging with the communities I lead. And last community I kind of forgot about is one called LinkedIn Local Nairobi. So I do lead, it's a budding community of professionals and also entrepreneurs. So what we are creating, we're on our second session now. So what we are creating is a space where professionals and entrepreneurs as well, or anyone who's building their career, whether in business or whether in a professional line, gets to find community and also gets to have crucial conversations that will spur their growth. So that's more about myself. I'll proceed to share my screen. Then we can get started. At any point, if you have a question, please do feel free to use the chat. I'll leave it open for on my side. Let me just switch that. Yeah, I'll leave it open on my side so that I get to see your questions and any comments that you may have. But before I start and as I share my screen, I'd want us to have a small engaging session. Let me know whether you can see my screen. I think Wanjiru, you can just confirm for me because I'm on one. Yes, you can?
Yes.
Okay, great. So before we get started, I'd like us to participate a bit and have a bit of an icebreaker. Just let me know what's one word that comes to mind when you hear about confident communication or public speaking. What's one word that comes to mind? For me, I'd say articulation. So you could let me know what word comes to mind when you hear of confident communication or public speaking. I'll just see someone's typing. So Diana says authenticity. Yeah, that's one key item. You really have to, you're not performing, you're really expressing yourself. It's not more a performance, it's expressing yourself. So Munyinat says speaking without ambiguity. Yes, and that comes from research, knowing what you're about to say. And I see Jacqueline also saying about clarity of idea. A lot of that comes from research and having done your homework, knowing what to say. Mercy says many people. At times it's many people, at times it's not, because it's more of, if you're speaking even to three people, three of your friends, and you're presenting an idea, you're working on your confident communication and also public speaking. Yeah. Then I see Jacqueline says stage fright. We'll get to see about stage fright and how I personally overcame my stage fright and how many other people have done the same. Elizabeth Mweni, fluency. Fluency is a key thing, especially for public speaking. And we'll get to talk about how that comes along, because when I shared the post that Sharon had tagged me on LinkedIn, I remembered of an interesting quote that says, no great public speaker or no great communicator was born great at communicating. So they started out from somewhere, and there are steps that they took along the way that helped them get to where they are. I see Lily saying heart palpitations. I think that's pretty similar. Pretty similar to what Jacqueline said about stage fright. Zarani, I see public speaking is about communicating with mass audience. True. Joy says confidence, understanding your audience. I see from Victor. I see Walter Walker laughing about the heart palpitations. And then crowd engagement, believing in yourself. True. Believing in yourself. You really have to see that you belong. By the time you're getting on a stage, one of the things you have to be very sure of is that you belong. That space is yours and you need to occupy it. And we'll get to see how that comes along as well. So my title is, it's a masterclass on practical public speaking. So by the end of the session, what you should expect is practical tips on how to build on your public speaking and also on your confident communication. And it's all about connection over perfection. As I said, you're looking to present your authentic self. You're not looking to perform. You're looking to connect with people and not really to be perfect. So why public speaking matters? When you read a lot of books, when you read a lot of school of thoughts and also get to experience what people say about public speaking, it comes out more as an essential skill for an everyday or an essential skill, because you're speaking to teams, you're speaking to your customers, you're speaking to your team, your colleagues at work, you're speaking to your family, you're even speaking to your partner. There's a lot of ways where you're getting to speak or communicate. And so communication and public speaking is really an everyday skill. And strong speaking skills enhance every conversation, making you more effective in professional and personal settings. Warren Buffett is one of the top entrepreneurs in the world. And among the top skills that he recommends for people to build is actually public speaking, getting to clearly articulate your ideas and also engage masses in driving particular visions, especially for people in leadership positions. And then the second thing why public speaking matters is because it builds real influence. There are two things that happen in your mind. There's the idea you have, and then there's how you say it. At times, for most of us, the ideas we have and how we say it or how we communicate them are not entirely, the same. But once you build on your public speaking skills, you're able to narrow the bridge to get the idea in your mind and what you articulate or what you relay to other people close to the same thing. And that helps you, drive people to action and also drive people to a certain point of influence that you're really looking towards. So when you speak with clarity, with confidence, and people listen, people trust your judgment, and people follow your vision, which is at the end of the day what you're looking towards when it comes to communication. And the last thing is it boosts your inner confidence. As you said, there's the ideas you have in your mind and how you articulate them or how you speak them out to other people. And each successful speaking experience builds your self-assurance. You get from one level of self-assurance to another, and eventually it becomes more natural to you. So as I said earlier, for a lot of people, public speaking doesn't come as a natural gift. And so it's something you work on every day. If you've seen recently, I've been on TikTok and I've been seeing this trend by, I think it's called Higher Wellness or something, but the idea is 100 days of public speaking, and people have actually taken up that challenge. And once you look at the videos that people are posting from day 1, say to day 20, to day 30, even to day 100, you can notice that by building on it consistently, they get to improve how they show up in all areas, including in real life. It could be a simple story that they're telling online, but how they tell it is really matters, or how they tell it really shows that they have clarity of thought, as someone mentioned in the comments. So the foundation of the communication, or what I'd like to take us through, is a communication triangle. So in every communication, what you're looking at is three things. You have your message, what's in your mind. You have you as the messenger, and you're trying to articulate your message to your audience. So there are three parts that you need to have clear in your mind, so that you, by the end of the day, from the message to the, from the messenger to the message to the audience, they all unite, or they all revolve in a sensible, circle. So from the messenger, someone earlier mentioned that one of the key things that they get to recognize or hear about when they talk about, or when someone mentions about communication or public speaking, is authenticity. And that is really what you bring to the table. Yeah. And I did mention earlier that wherever you are, on whatever stage you are, the key thing to know is that you belong and your ideas are valid, and you're actually getting that opportunity because you deserve it. And from that understanding, that's where you get to bring out your authentic self, bring out your ideas, bring out your arguments, and also be open to ideas, and also, other schools of thought that you could also implement in your conversation. So the three components of communication, or the communication triangle, is one, the messenger. So you're the messenger, and what you bring to the table is your authenticity, you bring your credibility, and you bring your personality as well. Each and every one of us, the 7 billion people of us in the world, each have a unique personality. I think you quite often notice this when, say, probably after you watch a movie or watch your favorite show, and you're trying to bring out a character that you saw in your favorite movie or in your favorite show. There's a time I was watching a series called Suits. It's a popular one. And my favorite actor there was Harvey Specter. And at times I could find myself try to mention particular words or use a certain tone to match what I was seeing. But what I soon realized is, after 72 hours, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, you reset, you're back to default. And so even for your public speaking or for your communication, you can borrow aspects of communication, because not all of us, for all of us, it doesn't come to us naturally, and also we are not all perfect. And so there's a lot to learn from people. There's a lot to learn from whoever you directly interact with, and also indirectly through social media, through what you get to watch or what you engage in. And so there's many things, or many areas where you can pull your information from. But at the heart of it, remember to bring out your authentic self. Yeah. And so as you said, you bring your authentic self, you bring credibility, and also you bring out your personality. And your unique perspective and experience give your message power and meaning. Again, each and every one of us has a custom life. Life happens to us in our own unique way. And for a richer story, for better communication, and one of the popular ideas that is being propelled now about storytelling, your story really finds meaning, or the richness of your story is derived from your own unique experience. So you're not trying to live or to tell a story through another person's lens. You're telling a story through your own lens. So that's on you as a messenger. Then we have the second aspect of communication, which is the message. The message is the idea you have in your mind that you now need to relay to your audience. Your core idea must be clear, it must be valuable, and it must be relevant. So to the different audiences, you might find you're probably an advocate. Yeah, you're an advocate of the High Court, and you have different audiences. There's how you address the judge. Probably will use terms like your honor. You'll argue your points in a particular way so that they're favorable to the judge. There's how you address your client as well. There's how you address, say, members in the court. There's how you address your team back at work. So you might have one key idea, but different audiences. What you need to make sure is that, one, the idea is clear to you as a person, so you're able to articulate it very well. And this comes from research. It comes from knowing your stuff. It could be foreign idea, so what you need is more of research. It could be an experienced idea, so what you need more of is context to see how does this apply to my particular audience. And then what you talked about also relevance. How is it relevant to, in the case of the advocate, how is this one piece of information that I need to relay relevant to the judge? How it varies also with how it's relevant to your teammates back at work. It also varies with how relevant it is to your client as well. So you need to really understand what setting am I in and how relevant is this message to this setting. Then the second thing you need to really understand with the message is what specific outcome do you want? As you said, it could be one idea, and what you ask for is what you receive. From many spiritual books, you see that coming out very well. Ask and it shall be given to you, and also for yourself. When flipped, what you ask for is also what you receive. So even with the message, there's what you're intending to get at the end of the day, and it's what we call your call to action. So you might have a story, unless it's a story that you're telling, and in which at the end of the day you might want to entertain. So that could be your goal. So that there's how you'll structure that story to entertain. But if it's in a business setting or in a space where you need to have something in return, then you need to have a call to action such that you're framing your message, and at the end of it all, you're getting to a certain point that is your specific outcome. And then the third thing is, what change are you creating? In most instances, every public speaking engagement and every communication engagement will have a change you're creating. You're either trying to pass down an idea, you're a leader and you need people to move in a certain direction, so you're passing down an idea for them to pick that up and move in the desired direction. Or you're trying to get some feedback. You have an idea in your mind, you're not very sure of it, and so you're now working towards getting feedback. So it depends. There's a ton of ways that you could look at the change you're trying to create. So be clear on the message, be clear on what outcome you really want, and also be clear on the change you're creating, and this will help you come up with a very good message. And a simple framework that I've had for a while is what we call, particularly for storytelling, is what we call the message tool. So as you know, this is mostly for African settings. A stool had 3 legs, or 3 legs it stood on. And so for the 3 legs in a storytelling stool, we have one, the message, which you're trying to relay. Then we have 2, facts and figures. So it could be, supporting facts and figures. And then 3, you have your call to action. So for example, a good example will be if you're in an impact storytelling session, or you're trying to relay impact, then what you're looking at is the 3 components. You're looking at your message, you're looking at your facts and figures. You're looking at your figures or your percentages, and then you're looking at the call to action. So for example, in my role at Attic Chapter, my role is partnerships and education. And so I'm often out there sourcing for, meeting different partners, communicating the essence of Attic to them and how we could be of we could achieve mutual value addition. And so this tool, the storytelling tool, comes into play very well. So for example, if I'm meeting a bank today and I want them to partner with Attic, then my framework will be this. My sample framework will be this. So I'll first start with the message. So I'll introduce myself. My name is James. I lead a community of young entrepreneurs called Attic Chapter, and our goal is to nurture the next generation of business leaders. Then I'll go into the numbers. In 2024, we facilitated transactions within amongst our 120 members in 2024, we facilitated transactions worth Kenya shillings 33 million. And that goes to show the impact that we have as a community. Then 3, since it's a bank and I'm tailoring a message to the bank, what I'm trying to say is, then my call to action will be, for many businesses in Kenya, particularly run by young people, they are unbanked. And so our contribution as Arctic chapter is to have a tier system where each business that joins the community goes through a structured program that ensures that, one, they are registered, and with registration, they gain capacity to be banked. And so the more you empower us as a community, then the more businesses we enable to get registered and to get banked, and the more businesses we give you as customers. And so what we're asking for is a partnership in return, where you support, it could be our operational budget, and we'll be able to run this entire program for you. So it comes in to see the three legs of the stool, where you have the message, you have the supporting figures, because as they say, numbers don't lie, and also numbers speak louder than words in most instances. Then finally, you have your call to action, because there is the change you're looking to create. And finally, in our communication triangle, we have the audience. The audience, for everyone you're communicating to, they have needs, they have concerns, and they probably have dreams. And so in each conversation, in each public speaking engagement, or even communication engagement, what you're looking at is to meet a need, to meet a concern, or to meet a dream. So for example, for a need, in this case, all of you have signed up for this masterclass because you have a particular need. You have a particular need to either grow your communication skills, you have a particular need to grow your public speaking skills, you have a need to know more, you probably have a need to experience a different school of thought when it comes to public speaking and communication. And then it could be a concern as well. You have a customer, or you have someone you're talking to, and they are really either confused about a product you're selling, or they're concerned about a gap that you really need to address. And so in communication, then you need to really understand what concern that person has and how you can meet them. Also, people have dreams. Earlier on, I was listening to a YouTube video, and for me in particular, it was about creating your own reality. That was the title of the YouTube video. And for me, it was more about, I have dreams I want to achieve, and this person has an idea or a proposal, a structured way they're proposing for me to follow. And so in me listening, it's actually public speaking for them, because it's more of a virtual public speaking engagement. And so why I'm listening is because I have a dream I need to sort of achieve. And so that's why I'm actually there. So understanding the audience's world helps you frame your message in a way that truly resonates. Earlier, when we were talking about the slide before, about building real influence, building real influence, what we talked about is the relevance of, and also when we were talking about the message, we talked about the relevance of the message. And here's where it comes in. It comes in the audience. When you analyze your entire audience when public speaking, they're usually different fragments of people. There are people who are very keen, and so that means you've framed your message in a way that meets their need or concern or a dream they're having. So they're actually very, very engaged to see how because you've hooked them from the start, they're actually very engaged to listen to you. And then there's the lukewarm bit. There are people who you'll mention something, and then you'll say them look up, and then they're like, okay, that caught my ear. So for them, they're in the middle. Your communication or your public speaking or whatever you're telling them is really meeting them at different points. It's hitting them at different points. So one point will hit them, another won't. One point will hit them, another won't. And then the last thing is you'll have people who are totally disinterested. So you'll see people on their phones. You might see someone reclined on their seat. You might see some people chatting in the audience as well. And this doesn't reflect on you directly as a public speaker or as a communicator, because in every audience, for all audiences I've spoken in, and even global public speakers, everyone will tell you that there are the three fragments of people that you'll always meet in your audience. What you need to be careful about is that one fragment, or especially for the last two, you just need to ensure that they are not the predominant part of the audience, because in that case, your message, you've not really framed your message to meet this particular audience. So that's just what you need to be careful about, and we'll see about how to do that in the next slides. So now, when it comes to public speaking, especially for beginners or for people starting out, the chills that you get are a real thing. I'll tell you this. So when I was starting out, I remember the first time I took, I stood in front of people and spoke or gave a speech, was actually when I was in high school. I was in my second form, and I was serving as a chapel warden. So what we, in my school, in my former high school, what we used to do is we had people who students, especially from twos, who will serve in the chapel, and so they're the ones who would go around taking offerings. They're the ones who would read the first and second readings at the chapel. They're the ones who would have what do you call it? There's the procession getting into the church and guiding the guest speakers on what to do, etc. So for a long time, I had always taken the less present parts of the role. So I was very good in collecting offering. I didn't need to speak to anyone at that particular point. I was also very good in guiding the speaker, because it's only one person. It's not much. It won't take much from me. But I had never taken a chance at speaking publicly when it came to either prayer or reading the scripture. So on one day, a couple of people we were working with, you've done these roles very well, but now there's one role that you've never done, and each of us is on our second cycle, and you've never done even one cycle. So you really need to take this up. And then I was like, okay, bet I'll take it up, but I'll take the second reading so that I'll see what the first person does in the first reading, and then I'll do the second reading. And so the preacher gave the two readings. In my mind, and you might see this in your situation as well, I was trying to see, okay, I've taken this up, but what am I going to do? I was not even listening to the scriptures that the speaker of the day was giving. So what I did was, I was more mindful about how will people perceive me, how will I perform when I take up the microphone and take the stage. How will I shake? Will my voice shake? Will I shake? Will I even manage to say a word? I was more focused on how will I really do this so that I appear sort of perfect. And so time came, I took the mic, went to the stage, and then I had to read. The thing with this is that I'd never done public speaking before. And then two, it was a fair start because I was not getting it from my mind. I was only reading a Bible verse. But trust me, that was one of the most difficult experiences in public speaking that I had. It was reading, but it was very difficult because one, my voice was shaking, and also my hand was shaking. So I even wonder whether people had the verse that I was reading at that particular point. And then since when the speaker was giving the verses, I was in my own world trying to figure out how will I present myself and other details. I missed out on what I was actually going to read. And so I read the wrong verse in its entirety. And so what I learned from this experience, what I learned from this experience is that you can have the idea in your mind, or how real, the real lesson here was how real the pre-speech nerves kick in, especially when you're starting out. But then there are a lot of lessons that I really learned here, and over time, that have helped me conquer audiences a bit better. And one of the lessons that I learned that are listed here is one, reframe the fear. So fear will always be there, especially when you're starting out. And the more you do it, the more the fear goes away. But instead of instead of framing the idea or the fear, the idea of the fear as a limiting belief, what you need to do is frame it as sort of like an opportunity. So in philosophy, it's good that I have a glass of water here. So there's the half empty and half full philosophy where, they say that pessimists will see the glass as half empty and then optimists will see the glass as half full. So it's the same with fear. You have fear, but how you acknowledge it is different. Because on one side, you could say, I'm fearful and I'm afraid to speak, for example. But on the other side, you could have it shift to, I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm a bit fearful, but I know I'll conquer. So it's a bit of reframing to see, yes, there's the nerves that you get before public speaking, but twist the narrative to conquer in your own mind. So that simple shift actually changes a lot. And then the second thing is breathing and grounding. The more grounded you are, or the more composed you are, the better you will be in articulating yourself and also in public speaking. So what you need to do in this case is take 3 deep breaths. So I think we could even do this from wherever you are, and then you'll feel the difference. So what you need to note how you're feeling now, and then we'll take 3 deep breaths. 3 controlled and deep breaths, and then we'll get to feel how we'll get to see how we feel after that. So what I'll ask us to do is, wherever you are, take a deep breath. We'll take a deep breath, hold, and then breathe out through the mouth, okay? So what you need to do, okay, so you take a deep breath. So in 3, 2, 1, take a deep breath. Then hold. Then breathe out through the mouth. Then take a deep breath again. Then hold. Then breathe out through the mouth. Then the last one, take a deep breath again. Then hold. Then breathe out through the mouth. I'd like us to engage in the chat, and I'd like us to engage. Okay, can you hear me now? I see there's someone saying they can't hear me in the chat. Oh, we're all good? Okay, thank you. So I'd like us to engage in the chat. How are you feeling now after the 3 deep breaths compared to how you were feeling before? Are you feeling more relaxed? Or let me not give you the answers. Just tell me how you're feeling now. And then you can, okay, Morioki says he is relaxed, very relaxed. Rehab. Anyone else? Calm, Miriam, Emmanuel, relaxed. a bit sleepy. It could be because you're calm. John, calm. That was a long breath. Yeah, you actually have to. It actually has to be very deep. You have to feel it in your, what do you call it? Your diaphragm. You have to feel your diaphragm come squeezing through your chest, then release. It's what we had listed here in the presentation. It activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So when your parasympathetic nervous system is activated, then you can feel the calm, feel the relaxation. It takes away the anxiety. Yeah, I see Emmanuel saying it takes away the anxiety. It's actually very calming. So anytime before you take a stage, this is one trick I always do. It doesn't matter whether it's a small stage or a big stage. I always I breathe in, take a deep breath, then I let it out through the mouth 3 times or 4 times, and I'll feel the calm. And once I feel the calm, the shake naturally goes away. The shake in the voice naturally goes away, and also the shake, if your arms do shake as well, it naturally goes away. So that's a tip for you. So anytime you're conquering a stage, even when you're on stage and you feel like you're getting a bit anxious, you could throw a question to the audience. Then take a moment to take a deep breath, hold it, release. take a deep breath, hold it, release, and then the anxiety slowly goes away and your calm comes back. Then the third tip about managing nerves. More often than not, you'll find that being nervous or getting a bit of anxiety comes because you can't piece your thoughts together. Yeah, you're talking about negotiation, for example, or you're giving a presentation at work, but you're finding it hard to piece the points together. And what the brain does is it works very hard to fill in the blank spots for you. But then if it doesn't have a lot of material to fill in the blank spots for you, then anxiety naturally creeps in. So to prevent that, what you need to do is prepare thoroughly. So once you know your stuff, here it says confidence comes from knowing your material inside and out, such that even when someone asks you a question and it throws you off balance, you have a reserve to tap in. Into, and you can naturally, or you can, craft a narrative to answer that particular question. So practice your opening line until it flows naturally. This sets the tone for everything that follows. In a lot of things, whether it's communication, whether it's driving an idea, it's leadership, it's whatever you're getting to do, the first part really determines the momentum of the other parts. So if you get the first part right, the other parts naturally, more often than not, naturally come together and piece into a good narrative that you can then do. So there are a couple of structures that there are many. This could be 3 of them, because even in marketing, I'm also in marketing. That's one thing I forgot to mention. And when we are when you're doing copywriting or when writing copy, there are different ways to approach it, because you're looking at having a call to action that spurs someone to buy a particular product or to sign up or to get a particular thing. So what you're looking at is telling a story that could then drive them to buy. And in public speaking or in communication as well, there are 3 proven frameworks that I personally follow, and also I know a couple of people who do follow, that work very well when followed rightly. And why this matters is because it helps you refer, or it helps you have an easy point of reference when it comes to telling your story. For example, there's the first one, which is the problem, solution, and benefit framework. So for a lot of talks, you'll see, as you mentioned earlier, people are listening to you because they either have a need, a concern, or a dream. And so when trying to address either a need, a concern, or the dream, what you're looking at is framing your story or framing your piece of information in a manner that they could then receive. So one of the ways that you could do this is through the problem, solution, and benefit method, where you have a problem. For example, an example given here is remote team struggling with connection. We're having this remotely. I saw, someone mentioned about they can't hear me, and so it could be like a connection issue. And so the second solution will be having this in person. We could meet over coffee and have this conversation in person. And the benefit of this will be, with physical interaction comes more. You can see, my body language. You can see how you can better hear how my tone variates. We can connect deeper after. After the session is done here, once the link, the meeting is closed by the organizer, then we are only limited to the time we had. So it could be like, now the benefit of this will be the stronger relationships and better collaboration. So for example, if it's at work where all of you have a common office, you could have this as your presentation. You're trying to argue why. I know this is counter. Not many people would argue like this, especially now with remote work and hybrid working, where people now prefer more working at home than in the office. But if it's becoming a struggle, then you're trying to present it to management or even to your teammates why it really matters. Then you could tell them, we struggle with connection and this really slows down the work. So in what we could do in a week, we end up doing in a week and a half or even in 2 weeks. So what we could do is do weekly coffee chats in the office. We could take an hour or two, really narrow down on what you're going to do in this week and then get it done. And then what this will bring in is stronger relationships for all of us and also better collaboration. So that's the problem, solution, and benefit method. Then we have a point, a story, then a point. So for example, the story I told you about how I started, my nervous situation in high school, it was basically following this framework: a point, a story, a point. I told you that, when I was starting out, I really had a problem with anxiety or feeling very nervous when I was on stage. And I gave you my story about how my high school, how it started while in high school. And then to my last point, I told you how I better overcame it. So it's that framework that helps you not only have a point, but also hook it to a story that people will remember for longer. So for anything, I think this will be a great exercise for us, probably we could get like 2 people or 3 people to tell us how their day was. Yeah. And then we could see how the point, story, point version comes in. I'll also tell you how my day was, and then we can see, or even to make it shorter, tell us the period between when you ended work up to now. So we could have anyone, probably anyone with a mic on, volunteer. It could be Bokayo, Anjiro, or Sharon. And then we can use that as a case study on point, story, form. Point, story, point, and how better stories actually help ideas stick better. So just tell us between, your 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., just that. Could we have anyone? Or even John? I see he also has like the mic on.
James, someone can just raise their hand and then we'll just enable their mics.
Okay, yeah, or someone just raise your hand. It's just a 2-minute story. Tell us, how your 5 p.m. to now 8 p.m. That's East African time, how that was. And then we can see the point, story, point format. And why a story will really be essential for you. Anyone? All right. I think if you have no one, let me tell you mine, and then we can sort of like break it down and see how essential a story is. So at 5 p.m., I worked from home today, and so I had a pretty busy day, and so I needed to prepare for this talk as well. So one of the tools, or one of the ideas that's become more prevalent in our modern times is AI. Yeah, and with AI, there's a lot that you could do. And so while I have the content, I really did need to have a solid presentation on, a solid presentation that I could bring to you guys. And there are 2 ways I could go about it. I could start it from scratch and build it on PowerPoint or on Canva. But there's a new app that I found out that called Gamma AI. And so I sent my presentation to Gamma, and then it gave me a breakdown of, a well broken down presentation that also had images, and also I could customize it based on the theme that I really wanted. So I chose a black and white piano theme because it's more professional, and then it gives a bit of balance between a dark theme and also a light theme. Then I took a shower to freshen up, also to help me sort of like think in what I was coming to say, and also have better ideas or even better stories that I could hook my presentation to. After that, I called John, who will be taking us through the next part of the session, to basically align on what we needed to talk about, how we could best add value to you, and and how we could best add value to you. Then after that, I checked my WhatsApp messages, read through some of the questions you had, then watched the podcast I told you about earlier on how to really recreate your future or recreate your life. After that, I took a meal. I took it was rice and beef. So I took that meal and then took a sugary drink because I needed some energy for the day, and then came into the meeting. And so that's how my 5 to 8 was. So what you'll realize is what I've tried to do is hook each piece of information, whether it's taking a sugary drink, with a small story that could help you realize or remember why I actually did it. So that's what you're trying to do with the point story point format. So I took a sugary drink. Why? Because I wanted to gain some energy for the meeting, and so I came in to the meeting with some good energy. So it varies on how you could use it. It could be on mini forms, like a 2-minute story, or even in a grand form, like the story we had earlier about my high school and how I overcame anxiety while speaking. And lastly, introduction, body, conclusion. A lot of us either wrote insha's, that's Swahili for composition, or speeches while in our formative years in school. It could be whether in primary school or even in high school. And a format that was really, emphasized on, and you still find relevance in it even to date, is the introduction, body, then conclusion format, where you have an introduction, there's an idea you bring to the fore, and tell. So in the introduction, you basically introduce the idea. So you give a sort of like a welcome and preview. So this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about public speaking and communication. And then you have the body, where you break down into greater detail the introduction. And then you have the conclusion, where out of all this, there's what I need you to take home. And so that's the introduction, body, and conclusion framework that you could also very much use to keep it flowing, or keep yourself grounded when it comes to communication. Then another, this will be my final slide, and then John will come in to tell us how to keep your audience engaged, but in adapting without losing your authentic self. As I mentioned earlier, you'll more often than not meet different schools of thought. Yeah. And in meeting different schools of thought, you'll try to pick, you'll pick items from, say, someone you admired speaking, and then you'll lose some of your items. Some of your core elements in how you speak or in how you communicate, from learning how, or from seeing other people communicate. But as we mentioned earlier, what you really need to guard is the soul, or is your authentic self. That is your own soul. So what you can adjust, there are a couple of things you can adjust while in conversation or when communicating. And these all come about from reading the room. There's a time on Twitter, currently X, formerly Twitter, especially when we had, say, the Mandamano, and you'd find, say, someone post, you'd find someone post something funny or like something about themselves, and then once you go to the comment section, you'd find people telling them to read the room. So reading the room is not only for communication but also for life. But in this regard, we are talking about communication. Reading the room is extremely crucial. How you deliver one piece of information to an audience really matters, especially when the circumstances differ. For example, you could have a message that you're relaying. Either, say, you could meet like an audience that's happy. So you could be in a wedding and you want to pass a message. That's one setting. And then you could be in a funeral and you're trying to pass the same message. How you approach the two really should be different, and should show that you're actually reading the room. So what you're trying to think about is choose the right outfit. Yeah, it's showing up to the occasion but dressed differently. How you show up to a wedding how you dress up to a wedding is different from how you dress up to a funeral, for example, or even how you dress up in a partners meeting is very different from how you dress up in a team building at work. Yeah, so consider it as the same. Yourself, your face has not changed, your body has not changed, your hair, if you've not changed, your hairstyle has not changed, but your clothing or your outfit has really changed depending on the two situations, whether you're walking into a partners meeting, whether you're going to a field day. So it's the same for communication. So what you need to adjust is, for example, your tone and pace. If you're in an informal place, you can play around with your volume. You can shout, say you're in the field and your favorite team is playing and you need to motivate them. You can shout, you can use fast-paced tones. You can even use gibberish because there's a lot of noise around you, and so people won't really mind about what you're saying. And then it could be now you're switching to a formal space. You're getting into a meeting. It's only 10 of you. There's no need of shouting. There's you only need to keep your composure and communicate within the bounds of that room. And so you need to match the tone, lower tone, meet the people where they are, match your pace. You need to sound more confident, have a slower pace, etc. And then another thing you could adjust to after reading the room is the examples and stories you tell. So they need to be relevant to the audience. If you're talking to people, say, mourning, the stories that you tell will really need to be relevant to that audience. You won't come telling stories about probably stories that mismatch. You could probably you're in a funeral and then you're talking about the next car you're going to buy, for example. So people might wonder, okay, how does this match where we are at? We are mourning, you're telling us about the next car you're going to buy. We really don't care, in that particular case. And then it could be that you're now celebrating a monumental experience in your life. You're probably, say, getting a new home. And then in the celebratory moment, you could also mention, beyond the home, you're also getting like a car to, help us with this. Or like you're having a family. And so your family has grown larger, you're working to get a family car. And so beyond the new joy that has come along, you're also working on another joy. Then that kind of makes sense in that situation. So your examples and stories really need to match your audience or where you're at. And then your technical depth. There are two. So you might be a software engineer and you're talking to your fellow software engineers. So the technical depth in language that you'll use there is very different from when you're talking to customers. So if I'm a customer, I know nothing about tech. Yeah, I know nothing about tech. I've come to you as a software engineer. I have a problem. You can create a solution. If you're telling me about the lines of code that you'll write, then you've totally lost me. Yeah. But if you're talking to your fellow software engineers, and then you're telling them about the lines of code that you'll write, and then how they'll solve the problem, then that actually matters more to them. So humor and casual references. So humor and casual references are important in a conversation. You don't need to be, not boring, but how do I phrase this? You can beautifully infuse humor and casual references in your conversations or even in public speaking. So how you get to do this is by having read the room, know what will matter to them. So for example, in Kenyan context, if you're in a government setting, then you have a government-based joke probably on something that has happened recently, then you'd really want to refrain from telling such a joke in that setting because you don't know how people will take it. But then if you have another joke about anything else that's happening outside politics, then you can come in with that piece of humor, and it will really, lighten the moment for people in that space. Then some of the things you need to keep consistent, of course, is your core values and beliefs. Don't go up against yourself. It doesn't, if it doesn't match your core values and beliefs, then you'd rather, leave it to someone else whose values and beliefs it matches. Then personal anecdotes that illustrate your key points. So keep your stories authentic. The benefit about keeping up your stories authentic is that you won't get in the middle, you won't get to the middle of the story and then forget or try to piece together an ending to the story. So if you keep your personal anecdotes and stories consistent that illustrate key points, then you're able to confidently relay the message that you're trying to pass. And then your natural speaking rhythm and the passion behind your message. This should go consistent to what your story or your public speaking or your communication engagement. So the pro tip about adapting differently to the different audiences is that one story can be told with different energy: serious for executives, enthusiastic for students, and warm for community groups. You just need to map out where you're talking to or who you're talking to, then match your story or your different your story to the different energy that's required of you. So and then of course you need to realize that now with TikTok, with the short video formats, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Reels, whether it's YouTube Shorts, people's attention spans have become very limited. So you also need to be very engaging when it comes to that as well. And so for the next 2 or 3 slides, I'll invite John Wafula, who's a communications coach and also a voiceover artist, to take us through how do we keep our audience engaged. Of course, for a voiceover artist, you have to be very good for someone to stick through, to stick through to the end from start to finish on your piece, whether it's an ad or a piece of communication. Like, it really needs to be creative. So in the next few minutes, John will be taking us through how to keep your audience engaged, and also a couple of 2 other topics that we'll get to cover, and then we'll open it up to questions. So help me invite John with a round of applause in the chats.
Thank you. Thank you, James. I'm trying to turn on my camera. Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm having an issue with my camera. I don't know if somebody can help me.
All right. It could be
my settings?
Yeah, your browser settings, but I think you could continue, and then, because also, people are focusing more on the on the presentation than on the camera, so I think you could just continue. Okay, let's as John fixes it and joins in, if you have a question, you can send it to the chat, and also a couple of lessons that we've learned so far in the chat so that we keep it engaged.
Yeah, I think I'll just proceed because of time.
Okay, sure.
Yes, thank you so much, James, for that amazing presentation. Though I can't see the slides on the screen, is it because of?
Okay, I see you're presenting.
I am presenting.
No, let me present on your behalf.
Yeah, please. Okay, I think let me just begin with appreciating all of you for being here. And thank you so much, James and Sharon, for this opportunity to be here. I look forward to spend the next few minutes to share the information I have on this topic, communication and public speaking. Right. So James has taught us and talked about the many other things that are very important in terms of communication. The aspect of the communication triangle, why public speaking matters, how do we manage those pre-speech nerves, and the frameworks or structures we can use to try and just engage our audience. And so I'm going to just proceed with how do you keep your audience engaged? I mean, this is a question that for most of you that have been in public and you have had to speak to different people, you realize that audiences are different. The way you engage with one audience is going to be very different with the way you will engage with another. And that makes it even harder because you will not engage with an audience in Nairobi maybe the same way you engage with one in Mombasa, right? Because they might have a different kind of orientation. So how do you make sure that you are keeping these people's attention to what you're saying for the entire period you're talking to them without losing them? All right. So attention spans are shorter than ever, but engagement is more than, you could have a lot of information, you could have a lot of data, you could have a lot of facts, but how do you make sure that what you're talking to them about remains relevant to them because they're giving you their attention? So the first thing I want to talk about is pace and tone. Pace and tone. Pace is how quick you speak. Tone majorly is about the aspects of intonation, the volume, the energy in your voice, a lot of how you sound when you're speaking. And sometimes we tend to resonate to monotone in terms of the kind of energy we offer. People find it a bit boring, so they kind of zone out on you when you're trying to give them the facts and the figures, but they're like, we actually are not very moved, you know? So in communication, one thing you have to understand is your tone and your pace is very important. So you want to speed up when you're so excited or you're speaking about something exciting, and then you want to slow down for emphasis. If you're speaking about something and there's a point that is very important, you want to make sure that your speed slows down when you're close to making this one very important point. Because if you consistently speak for the entire time in the same pace, most people will not really be able to pick, okay, so what is the most important thing in your statement? But once you slow down when you're close to the point that carries the highest amount of weight in our statement, people's mind, because they are listening, they will be able to know, oh, okay, they slow down. So it means this point is very important. So vary your pace and your tone and just try to play around it when you're speaking about something that is, I'm not saying that what you're saying is not important, but when you're speaking about things and you realize there's a point that is very important that stands out from the rest, for you to be able to show that, slow down towards the end and then make your point. Right. And then, of course, when it comes to the energy, you want to raise your voice for energy and lower it to draw people in, because your voice is an instrument. I want you to imagine a piano. Maybe all of you have seen a piano. A few of you have played one. Imagine or let me give an example that is very close to everybody. A DJ. They're playing music, and they kind of have just one or two songs. I want you to try to imagine that you go to this event and the DJ has only 2 or 3 kind of songs, same style. I'm a piano, or I don't know what you guys love listening to, Lingala. Imagine that this DJ keeps playing these 3 songs. Once they're done, they will still repeat the same songs and the same songs. The point is, after like 1 or 2 or 3 plays, they will not be really moving you because you already danced to the songs they have played, and you're expecting something more. You're expecting a different genre, you're expecting a different sound, but then they keep playing the same songs. There's a high possibility that you will actually get bored and sit down or even exit the event, because I mean, music is close to your heart, but the DJ is giving you bare minimum. Yeah. So that is how sometimes if you don't vary your voice and your pace and your speed in your your speech, we sound to the people that are listening to us. Because we could be speaking the same way and they're like, okay, that was boring. I mean, I have listened to that already. Could you like try be a bit dynamic? Be a bit dynamic in how you're lowering your energy, how you're raising your voice, how you're pacing, how you're slowing down, so that these people tend to have a bit of everything, not just one thing consistently. So that is an art you really have to learn. How do I make sure that I'm not monotonous in the way I sound? There's a variation of energy in my voice. There's a variation in terms of how I speed up when I'm speaking and when I slow down, in terms of now a point that is very important I'm trying to put across, to make sure that these people are keeping engaged for the entire period. Because the high possibility is you might lose them if your voice is not as engaging as possible. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the art of pausing. Pausing is, some people think that, oh, if I keep silent or I have silences between my presentation, people will think I am thinking on the go and I will not look very intelligent. Well, one thing I'd wanted to tell you is pausing is, or silence isn't empty, right? So it's full of possibilities. So pause after important points just to let them sink. When you're trying to speak and there's something you have said and you want to get these people to just get that information in and let it sink in, you can pause for a minute, not for a minute, that's a long time, for a second or two, let the point sink and then proceed. Of course, if there's a key point you want to talk about, make sure that you also pause so that you don't connect. You don't connect point one and point two. Pause to allow for space for them to digest what you just said, even as you allow them to listen to what you want to say next. And then asking engaging questions. I mean, people love questions, and the more you ask questions, you begin to transform passive listeners into active participants. So you'll be like, okay, how many of you have experienced this? For example, if you're talking about something that relates to boda boda or matatu or anything to do with transport, the transport sector, you know, maybe you had a bad experience with a cab driver, or you had a bad experience with matatu drivers. So you're like, okay, how many of you have had this experience, and what would you have done in this scenario? People begin to say, I had this day and it was crazy. And so basically, when you ask engaging questions, people begin to open up about what they have the information they have concerning the things you are talking about. And that also just transforms passive listeners into active participants. So even rhetorical questions that you don't really require somebody to respond to, some that just kind of triggers thought and people to kind of just try to think around it, also makes people think and engaged, right? And then, of course, storytelling, which is an art that James has talked about, the way you can infuse anecdotes, things that have happened to you, things that have happened to your client, things that have happened maybe during your day, sell a lot, because it's about the emotion that stories carry. So that impact is very important when you're trying to keep your audience engaged. So try to throw in a few stories here and there. When you see them zoning out, when you see them kind of just not engaged as much, you can throw in a story to try get them from passive to active. And then once they're active enough, now you can throw in your point, and voila, you have been able to communicate what you wanted to communicate. All right, so I think we can move to the next slide, James. Okay, so how do you deliver with executive presence? I mean, your body language speaks before you do. The first thing that people see when you enter the room is you. I mean, like the way you're dressed, the way you're walking, where your hands, how is your face? Are you smiling? Are you frowning? I mean, you are coming to us, but you're not happy. I mean, are we boring? Are you not happy to see us? All right, because you have to make this people feel important by being very open, let your body language speak. I am so excited to be here. I'm very delighted to be standing before you, and I look forward to engaging with each one of you. So these physical elements of delivery can make you break your message, regardless of how brilliant your content might be. So one thing you need to know is research has shown that 55% of communication is actually your body language. 38% is is how you use your tone, which is like the voice aspect. And then only 7% is the words and the data you have. So imagine the biggest number on that research, on that spectrum, is the body language. So if you don't get the body language right, you might actually miss out on how you deliver the 7%, which is just the words. So facts, figures, data is very important, but now the body language is where the catch is. So how do you deliver with the executive presence? Eye contact. A lot of times we have people that speak, but they have their eyes above people's heads. I mean, I know you've been told that don't look at people, don't maintain eye contact because you might get scared. Unfortunately, as a speaker, you have to learn how the art of meaningful eye contact. What I do is, if I am in a place where I feel like some people intimidate me, or when I look at them, I feel like there's some way they're not really giving me the kind of attention or the support, because there are people that will really make you feel like, okay, you're not doing enough. So look at a few people. You could pick 2 or 3 people in the crowd, people you feel like they are noting. Look at people that are noting, people that are making notes, meaning they're understanding what you're saying. People that encourage you. Don't focus on the people that not give you energy you want, because that way you will feel like I don't feel like I'm doing enough. So get 2 or 3 people in the crowd, the people you can always be talking to. It's not like you're talking to them, yes, but now to the entire crew. Yeah. So look at them in the eye, not like for 10 minutes, just look at them. And then of course, once you make your point, you can proceed with your slides or move around from point A to point B, just to ensure that you're not like just standing there looking on the screen or looking up in the sky. So connect with a few people, and once you do that, it becomes easier for you to try and just make a meaningful eye contact. If you're having a room that has like 3 rows, you can get 2 people from this row, and then 2 in the middle, and then 1 on the other side. So when you're on the other side, you have somebody you can look at and they can encourage you. When you're in the middle, you have somebody you can look at, and when you're on the other side, you have somebody you can look at to just encourage you. So don't just scan the crowd like a security camera. Don't. Have meaningful eye contact. And how you do that? Get a few people that encourages you by looking at them. And then of course, your posture. Don't be on the stage, but you have your hands at the back or in your pocket, or you're fidgeting, or you are swaying, or you're pacing, and your movement is just showing this guy is not confident, or this lady is not confident. There's something about how they're moving. So movement should be so intentional. It should be so intentional. You don't want to just to move up and about haphazardly. Move with intention. If you want to talk to the right side of the room, then move to the right. If you have nothing to do there, then don't. Just stay where you are. And then make sure you're also just standing upright, lean in when you need to lean in slightly. Try to make sure that your body language speaks, I am confident and I know what I'm doing, so that you don't make these people feel like, okay, this guy is actually scared. We can see them fidgeting and sweating, and so just stand tall with shoulders back and feet planted. Avoid swaying, pacing, or fidgeting, because that way you begin to even panic. Because when your body posture is not properly aligned, you begin to even lose the words. You might forget what you want to say because people can see you're panicking. And then dynamic voice control. This is an aspect of vocal variety. I think we talked about this in the previous slide. How do you keep your audience engaged? Speak loudly enough for the person in the back row. You don't want to be in the front and people at the back are like, we can't hear you, what is going on? Good thing if you have a microphone, that's better. But if you realize you go to a room and maybe we don't have a PA system, it is your responsibility to make sure that everybody hears you. If you have to adjust your position for people to get to hear you, then you have to do that. Because you don't want to be standing somewhere where everybody says, just half of the room can hear you, and every other person is like, we can't hear you. It won't be value to them because they feel like they're wasting their time. So you want to make sure you speak loud enough so that the person in the back row can still hear. So maybe what you can do is, so I'm gonna start speaking. Like before you start to speak, you're like, I'm gonna start to speak, and you could just get somebody at the back. Maybe if it's Sharon, she's like, hi, please tell me your name. And then she says, my name is Sharon. Sharon, could you help me? If my volume goes lower than this, just signal me so that my volume, I could raise my voice to make sure you're getting what I'm saying. Because sometimes we might speak and these guys are not listening, literally, because they can't hear you. So get somebody from the back who will be like your measure of how loud you are. Anytime your volume goes, they'll be able to signal you to keep up with that same volume. So, and then of course, the most important thing also is not just the volume, vary the pitch, vary the pace, of course, slow down when you want to make a very powerful point. Let your volume vary based on the importance of the information you're giving, because your voice should convey confidence and authority, and it should be able now to play around the things of how do I deliver this information in a way that doesn't make these people get bored, but they engage the entire period. Okay, are we learning? Are we learning? Okay, I think we can move to the next slide. Now, common speaking challenges. These are things that every speaker, I know some of you think that the best speakers in the world don't face these things. They face them, I can tell you. And that's why you should be encouraged, because no one was born with this. They are learning and they are trying to perfect it. So the same way they are trying to learn and perfect it, you can do that as well. So these are challenges that happen to every speaker. I know you guys know Vosi Tembekwayo. You know how he's very good, and if you asked him what he faces, he will mention a few of these things, because it is not something that you can run away from, but how you prepare and how you plan around it. James mentioned something about planning, proper preparation for your presentation or your speech. So how do you make sure that you handle these challenges effectively? Now, you get into a room and you're speaking about technology, for example, for guys who are in tech, and the people in the room, I mean, most of the people that are in the room are, it could be that not all of the people in the room are actually in tech, right? They are there to maybe just invest. They could be investors. They're not in tech, but they want to invest, or some of them are just there to network. Or so you don't wanna keep the message to you don't want to make it sound like, okay, we are. What I'm trying to put across is sometimes the way you open your message matters a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. So how do you address an audience powerfully? These are people that they're always behind the computer, for example, and their work is to code, and a lot of times they don't meet people. I mean, for techies, they understand more of computer language than human language. So how do you make sure they feel warm? How do you make sure they feel warm? Your greeting must be very warm. You want to make sure that when you speak and you open your voice and you greet them, they feel warm. So how do you do that? Greet warmly, pause for about a second or two, make eye contact with the different people. Like I said, if you're having a room that has like 3 or 4 sections, then look at different people from the different sections and project your voice with intention. Because you could be like, good morning, and then you're like, it's really a privilege to be here with you. I look forward to this amazing session. Because sometimes we get into rooms and you're like, hi, my name is this. This is what I do. I am looking forward to engaging with all of you. But then that is good. You have told them what you do, but then it doesn't really engage them so much, because the energy in your voice, the warmth in your voice is not as inviting as it should be. So when you want to open with impact, what you want to do is address these people with warmth in your voice. Pause for a minute or two, pause for a second or two, make an eye contact, and then let your voice be loud enough, and then stand tall. Just be you could move up and about. Of course, when you're trying to make rapport with the people, you don't want to stand in the middle. Just move about from the end to the end as you try to create rapport with everybody in the room. And then once you have been able to do that and you're relaxed, come back to the center point and now begin your presentation or begin your speech. So begin with a proper warm greeting that makes people feel warm and welcome. And then how do you conquer the extreme fear? Sometimes we feel paralyzed by anxiety. You go in and you realize, okay, the slides are not working and I need to keep talking. It's not like I have everything in my head. I need pointers. What do I do? And of course, like especially if you're trying to start out, you're starting out in communication, you're trying to really master the art. The best thing is start with in very safe small places or groups. You could offer to, run the office meeting at work. You could offer to moderate an event that is just maybe 15 people. That way, because these are people you know, these are people you already have a rapport with. So it becomes very easy for you to start just working around how you work with conquer extreme fear. Because you don't want to mess on stage before you mess with the people you know. So learn from, I know these people, yes, I'm feeling intimidated because it's not something I've been doing for long, but I'm going to use this platform to learn. So if you're having a meeting, you can always volunteer to run the meeting. Your work is you're actually introducing the CEO or the line manager, and so you can always work around that. And then James mentioned about breathing. So there's a breathing technique called the diaphragmatic breathing, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold. Sorry, 6 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, and then you release for 6 seconds. So that can be a way to also just ground yourself physically so that you are able to relax your nerves to be able to communicate when you're feeling anxious. And then, of course, like I said, also just prepare enough. You can script and rehearse your opening lines until it's automatic. All right, and then the other thing is, how do you create engagement? For example, for your audience, how do you get audience participation from the start? So you always use interactive questions. You can make eye contact and use inclusive language that invites response. You can do stories. You can just make sure that you are throwing things at them in terms of questions or in terms of something they relate with in terms of stories, and that way they're able to relate more with the real life situation to what you're trying to communicate with them. Okay, we can move to the next slide. I think time is really gone. I'm going to use like the next 2 minutes just to finish this. So this is a saying by Maya Angelou. It says, they may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. So there's an aspect of, if I am listening to you beyond just what you said, the facts, the figures, and everything you have got, we have to focus on how do I make these people feel? Will I actually be top of mind when I leave this meeting? Once I leave this meeting, will these people remember anything I said? And it's not just about the fact, it's about how did I make them feel? Was I engaging enough? Was my voice engaging enough? Was what I was talking to them about relatable enough through the kind of the stories I was sharing and the scenarios I was trying to bring them to think about? So that is one thing you have to think about. It's not about what you say, but how you make them feel. All right. And then, of course, just a few practices that you can incorporate in your daily practice. You can commit to 10 to 15 minutes of daily speaking drills. You can record yourself speaking about your day. For example, what James talked about today. Just talking about what happened in the entire day. If the day starts at 5 a.m., then open your camera, record yourself talking about your day. The more you speak, the more you realize that you begin to kill the and the ahs and the likes, and you begin to also structure your thoughts properly, because you will realize that it becomes easy the more you start to speak. It's almost like somebody who's trying to swim. They will never learn how to swim by reading a book on swimming. They will only learn how to swim once they get into that pool and drown for a few weeks, and then eventually they can begin to swim. So incorporate that daily practice into your routine, and then you can give many presentations to colleagues, friends, or family. You can also join local groups or create communities that you can use to practice your skills. It's basically doing it by studying, because you're not going to be there until you literally jump into it, feel anxious, fumble, fidget. But then the more you do it, the better you become. So take your progress, track your progress, of course, seek feedback where you want, where you think that you need to get a few things from people who have done it before. Ask them, how do you do this? I'm doing this workshop, or I'm leading this meeting at work. How do I go about it? They will be able to help you with a few frameworks on how to start, how to keep the people engaged. Maybe if you don't know how to do that, then each and every trial, you will become a better person. So your voice matters, and the world is waiting. It's waiting to hear it. So go forth and become that speaker you want to be. And that's my time. God bless you.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for taking us through that. That was very insightful. I hope we've all learned something from that session. It's definitely worth your time. And the beauty about public speaking is that, as John mentioned, it compounds over time. The more you practice, the better you get at it. It gets to a point where it comes so naturally to you, so such that your thoughts align, your words align, and you're able now to work on other aspects of your communication. And some of the groups that you could join for this, there's one called Toastmasters. It's a public speaking. They particularly focus on communication and public speaking. There are challenges you could do there, and then you can track how you grow through the different levels. Also, join your church, local community, whatever group offer to read or to lead a particular session, and this gets you better over time. So I think now we'll open it up to questions. Then John and I will answer them, and then I'll hand it over to Sharon. Yeah, I see one by Kingdom. Okay, you asked that as for you, you sweat a lot when meeting new faces. You'll pick up if not confronted with demanding questions. You have two types of voices. When you're quite sure, you really flow, and when you're mixed, you have a soft and shy voice. What you need to work on here is, do more practice. And with more practice, then you'll strengthen your sure and your confident voice. And what happens is also, especially from programs like Toastmasters, there are times you're given a topic to think on your feet. So you could even challenge yourself. I've been doing, say, a challenge for 7 or 10 days. Today, I'm gonna go to ChatGPT. What I'll do, I'll ask ChatGPT to give me a random topic that I could speak about. If you've used ChatGPT for a long time, then it sort of has like a persona or a brief on you. So it will give you a line that you can draw a conversation from, but also is within what you've searched before. And so ask ChatGPT, give me a line that I could start a conversation on, and then do that conversation for like 2 to 5 minutes. Once you do that a couple of times, it trains you to think on your feet, and that's what you really want to strengthen your sure and your confident voice. So I think for this one, I'll ask John to come in, where Mariah says that she has an issue with her pitch. Her voice is too soft and seems to diminish when she projects during public speaking and presenting, and she is a journalist. So, John, what would you advise in this case?
Hi, Marie. I have been trying to workaround exercises that helps people with pitch and resonance. And this is something I also use because, I mean, our voices kind of crack sometimes, and you begin to kind of have a squeaky voice. So it's a technique called strophonation. Strophonation is a technique where you use it's the scenario of half empty, half full bottle of water, and then you use a straw in it. That straw is, so you blow through it. You can hum your favorite song. Mostly the most favorite song I use is Happy Birthday song for guys who love to celebrate their birthdays. So you are blowing through the song, that straw, but it is immersed in the bottle of water. What strophonation does, it works on your larynx. It's a bit scientific, but let me just explain it slightly. It works on your larynx, which is the voice box, and improves the resonance of your voice. So if your voice is too soft, then you begin to feel a bit of the quality begins to improve. The quality of how you sound begins to improve. So it's something you have to do constantly. Like it's one of the things you have to incorporate in your daily practices. As you practice the 15 minutes of daily speaking drills, then this is the one exercise you can incorporate in your daily practices. So I think that's one I would recommend for now. It's called strophonation. So a bottle of water halfway with a straw immersed in it, and then you blow through it. You can do it for 10 minutes every day, and that will really improve how your voice sounds eventually. It's not going to be immediately, but eventually.
All right, thank you very much for that. Yeah, as he said, public speaking comes with progress. So the more you do it, the better you become. And even for projection, you said your voice is soft and seems to diminish when you project. Try to open up your mouth wider when you're trying to project, especially in situations where you're in a large room and you want to project. Try to open your mouth wider, and also try to push your voice from your throat as well. But strophonation does really help with opening up your larynx or your voice box. And then for Miriam, you say you sound like you want to cry when speak before people, and your hands tremble afterwards, especially when answering questions. This is the exact same thing that I had when I was in high school, when I was reading that Bible verse. My voice was shaking and also my arms were shaking. What I'd advise you to do is, before you answer questions, do the exercise, do the breathing exercise. Take 3 deep breaths, hold, and then breathe out. Before you raise, after you've raised your hand, if it's sequential questions where someone has to answer and then it comes to you, before they come to you, just do the breathing exercise and then get to answer or ask questions. And then also, if you have the chance, rehearse your response. So once you rehearse your response, it sort of gives a cue to your brain to, after this is what happens. After this is what happens. So you're able to piece together the information then you'll be more confident in answering. So 2 things: the breathing exercise, and also try to rehearse your response so that your brain naturally pieces together the information that, from this step we get here, from this step we get here, from this step we get here. And in answering, then you just have to piece together the steps, and that brings along a lot of confidence as well. And then Clinton, you say you sometimes start well during the meeting, but in the middle you get a trembling voice. So how you can solve that is by taking breaks or pauses. In communication or in public speaking, the pauses come in as accents to your communication. So you're not really, as long as it's planned out pauses, it's not like lengthy pauses, then it comes out more as a natural thing. Then what might be happening as well is probably your pace in speaking is faster than how you're thinking or how you're generating the information. So what you'd want to do in such a case as well is slow down, talk in a slower pace, and also take breaks. It could be probably you're talking about, say, if I was talking about Arctic chapter because I'm well versed in it, I'd take breaks in this manner. So I'll tell you about it. So Arctic chapter is a community of young entrepreneurs. What we do we do 3 things. One, we help young entrepreneurs belong. We have realized that entrepreneurship is a pretty lonely journey, and a lot of entrepreneurs need that space in terms of community. Number 2, we help the entrepreneurs connect. In this case, then you get to explain. You can notice, like, I'm taking short but deliberate breaks to quickly recompose myself, and then I can give a better response. So 2 things for you, Clinton: use a slower pace, and also take breaks or take pauses between your speech. Chisimba, this is excellent. I see 2 of your messages that you did public speaking last week in front of 20 people, and you are really impressed with yourself. You said it's been a challenge for you. Yeah, as you said earlier, no one is born on, no, it doesn't appear naturally for everyone. You have to really work on it. But the beauty with it is that it compounds over time. Once you start working on it, it gets better over time. Then Colin is sorting a sign of nervousness. Yes, it is. But when you find yourself sorting the same thing we mentioned to Clinton earlier, take a deep breath, take a pause, talk slower. Because when you're nervous, your body or your brain will naturally tend to pace up your communication or your voice. And so what you need to do in such a situation, take a break. Take deliberate pauses, recompose yourself. Then once you have your thoughts sort of planned out, then you can speak at a slower pace. And also, it's totally right for you to ask the audience to give you a minute to think or to regain your train of thought. At times, you might be speaking, then you lose your train of thought, and it does happen naturally. And when you lose your train of thought, what you need to do is be open to your audience. Tell them, yeah, I have lost my train of thought. I need a minute to, recompose myself. And once you recompose yourself, then it comes to you a bit more naturally, and it's a better response than what you would have given at the start. Then Eva Kamau, you did public speaking to a group of 30 people, and you will hear what you are saying, but your audience did not. Confidence was a big challenge and still is. So in this case, I think my trick when it comes to confidence usually is looking at people at their foreheads. Yeah. So someone won't tell you you're not looking at their eyes, because at times you might feel a bit shy or a bit awkward looking at their eyes, but it does come after some time that you can now look at people in the eye and talk to them. But also either looking at this part of the forehead between the eyebrows, it's really close to your eyes, like looking at this part between your eyebrows, it also really works. So try that. And also what you said as well, if you lose your train of thought, ask for a minute, recompose yourself, talk slower at a slower pace. This comes with practice. Even record yourself, speak at a slower pace, and then it will come to you. Then Ale Kenu, you say you have a speaking challenge. What should you do when you speak in public? What you've all discussed in the I'll also share these notes for your reference. But what we've discussed in this masterclass today is what you need to do. But where you need to start is in putting yourself in positions of public speaking. But it doesn't really necessarily need to be in front of an audience. It could be in front of a mirror, or record yourself daily. Go to TikTok, join the 100 days challenge, record yourself daily. If you need to post. If you won't feel comfortable posting, have a record of this was day 1, this was day 2, this was day 50, this was day 100. By the time you're getting to day 20, you've improved a lot more than how you're doing in day 1. By the time you're getting to day 45, you improved a lot more than you're in day 20. And by the time you're getting to day 100, you're a totally different person. So take deliberate steps in speaking in public. or in practicing. And as John said, you can't learn how to swim by being outside the water. You really need to get into the water and start swimming. So even for public speaking, you won't learn how to swim. I mean, you won't learn how to speak in public by listening to me or listening to John or reading books. The only way you learn how, I mean, the proof of the pudding in this case is in the eating. And so the only way you'll better your public speaking is by actually speaking. And then Jacqueline, sometimes you pause, you lose track, tensed or not. It's totally fine. Take a minute, ask your audience to recompose yourself and gather your thoughts, then continue. And then practice as many times as possible. Have a topic in your mind, record yourself for a minute or two, and then it starts coming out naturally. Whether you're thinking on your feet or you're following a script, then by practicing, it comes to you naturally. How can you stop stammering during public speaking? Practice. I started out, when I was starting out, I was stammering. I had a lot of filler words. You could hear the arms or the and or the or the I'm trying to, there was a ton of them. But practice makes perfect in this case. I know we are short on time, 2 more responses. So Marcie, in 2 weeks' time, you'll be coordinating a stakeholder engagement, and this presentation has come at the right time. Excellent. I wish you all the best. Pick as many points as you would here, do more research, be very prepared, and take it easy. You've got this. And then finally, what should I do if I made a mistake while public speaking? So actually, there's 2 scenarios I'd want to give here. So you might you might be engaged in a public speaking engagement, and then you forget something that you really wanted to say. Don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah. What you said, the beauty of such a situation is it's only you who knows that you meant to say this thing, but you didn't say, but your audience does trust that you did deliver. And then if you make any mistake, correct it. If you have the opportunity to correct it, do correct it. If you don't have the opportunity to correct it, you can message the organizers of the event or the engagement you're at and tell them, yeah, this is a mistake I made. You could send this message to your audience and tell them there's a correct version of this particular thing. So I think with those questions, we are happy to have led this session. Okay, there's the first question in the Q&A. Oh, Q&A, okay. Oh, there are a couple here, okay. Your Joyce, sometimes when having a session where you're required to speak in front of a crowd, you are confident until the time when you step on the stage. Most of the times, all words disappear. Why does that happen, and how can I overcome it? When you're prepared and you step on a stage and, it sort of like disappears from you, it's often a sign of fear or anxiety, and it's natural. So you don't be too hard on yourself. What you need to do is progressively practice. So you could start out with a smaller crowd, then move to a slightly bigger crowd, then to move to like even a bigger crowd. So that by the time you're getting to a bigger stage, then the pressure is more, but you've progressively attuned yourself to handling pressure. And so by the time you're getting to a high pressure zone, you're already used to it, or you've progressively mapped out the path for yourself. So what I'd advise you to do in this case, to directly beat fear or to directly beat anxiety at such a point, the breathing technique. Take a deep breath, hold, breathe out. It could be even before you start speaking. Yeah, when people are still clapping, while people are still welcoming you to the stage, take a deep breath, pause, hold it, and then breathe out. Also, what could also help as well, have pointers or a notebook. It could be a notebook or even on your phone, where you have cues that you can refer to. So you could be speaking about a particular topic. So list out the cues on a notebook or on a pen. They say that the faintest pen is better than the sharpest memory. So at times your memory could fail you, and it comes in different ways, even for people who are very, very good. your memory could fail you. But if you have pointers, you can always refer. It could be like a one line that helps you piece together the entire narrative, and then another line that helps you piece together the entire narrative. So do that. Using filler words, the only solution to filler words is practice. The more you practice, the more they get out. Because with filler words, it's usually either your mind is thinking faster than you're speaking. Yeah, it's mostly that your mind is speaking faster or slower than you're speaking, and so you're trying to find filler. I mean, you're using filler words. That's why they're actually called filler words. You're using filler words to fill in the spaces that where there's a mismatch between how your mind is thinking and how you're speaking. So what happens is, with more practice, do the 100-day challenge, or even the 15 or 20-day challenge. Record yourself every day speaking about a particular thing, and also include some of the topics that you think on your feet, that will require you to think on your feet. So that will really help you eliminate filler words. I think we've answered that. Is it okay to write down my speaker notes and refer during my talks? Totally okay. I mean, some of the best speakers in the world read their speeches more from paper or from teleprompters. So you don't need to feel awkward by having your speaker notes or referring during your talks. It actually helps you structure your message better, ensure that you've left no stone unturned in terms of what you needed to say, and also it helps you really structure your approach to your conclusion in the conversation. I think that's all from us. Sharon, thank you very much for having us. In case you have any questions, you can, my name, James Ruigu, is on LinkedIn, it's on Instagram, it's all on all my social media platforms. Do reach out and I'd be happy to have a conversation and help. Otherwise, thank you very much for making time, and do enjoy your evening.
Perfect. Thank you so much, James. Thank you very much, James and John. Were you among, the two disciples of Jesus, James and John? Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. And audience, let's just clap for them and show them some love. I mean, speaking for 2 hours is not a joke. It is not. Yes, amazing, perfect. Good. And when you guys were speaking and you were talking about the first experience, especially when I saw the question from Maria, because she's a journalist and her voice keeps on diminishing when she's speaking. I just remembered my first time, and this is a chance for me to embarrass myself, because why not? The first time that I was given a chance to host a live show program. This was back in 2018. And before I tell you that story, I'm sharing a link. I think I've shared. I don't know if it has come. Yes, that link right there. We can, as you're listening to my stories, to my embarrassing story of my first time ever being on live TV. Please let us fill out that form right there. Okay, so back to my story. So these guys, it was quite a new TV program, quite a new TV, and I was asked to host a program, 1 hour program. This 1 hour program, I was supposed to have how many breaks? 5 breaks. 5 commercial breaks, pay bills, and you know how TV works. So I asked them, and the thing that they wanted me to present was a music show. I told them, okay, guys, you want me to do a music show? Okay, fine. I can drive very well in reggae music. I can also drive very perfectly in gospel music, because gospel, I've done CRE, I've grown up in church, and then reggae, because I have grown up with elder brothers, so I knew how to navigate my way around it. And then they told me, no, we want you to do music, bongo music. Now, ladies and gentlemen, bongo music is East African music. That is Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwandan music. Do I listen to bongo music? Absolutely no. So what exactly was I supposed to do? So the other day, a friend of mine who recorded my that first show shared that clip. And let me tell you, I was almost hiding under the table because who is this and what exactly was that? Can you imagine a show that was supposed to only take 5 commercial breaks? I took about almost 15 commercial breaks because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have no idea what Diamond did. There's an East African artist called Diamond Platinums. I have no idea what he did. I have no idea what. It was a total disaster. But then every time I kept on doing it. So they said, okay, when they were introducing the idea, they told me that this show is supposed to happen once per week. When I did the first show, the second show, they said, oh, you know what? This program is going to be running three times a week. I am still trying to navigate my way. So the more I did it, by the time I was leaving the TV station, I was also doubling up as a breakfast show host. Breakfast show host is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. So see, the more you practice, the more sometimes you do pep talks on the mirror, because that has really helped me. Sometimes I rehearse conversations in front of a mirror. At some point in life, I was a very active TikToker. So I used to do different challenges. I never used to dance. It's really, left feet people. It's not really my stronghold. But keep on practicing. Don't give up. Nobody's born perfect. Sometimes we give up along the way. Like when John and James said, when you assume like you're in like a swimming pool, that the way that you want to learn how to swim, sometimes you have to go to the swimming pool. I personally gave up trying to learn how to swim because I couldn't. I was like, God, you know why you gave me legs? I am not about to go and compete with the fish. So that is not for me. But as we said at the beginning of this conversation, communication is literally, quote unquote, our daily bread. The way that you interact with your friends, the way that you communicate at your workplace, the way that you present your idea, the more that you keep on doing it, the more perfect you become. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you felt this, and I'm very sure we will be sending the presentation. And we want to say a very huge thank you. Thank you so much to Sharon. Thank you so much to John and James. And also thank you to me. Please clap for me. Yes, thank you so much. Sharon, I don't know if your audio came back. We would really have loved you to bless us with your voice today. Okay. We hope to see you next time on 18th during the Mastering Advocacy Communication. And we will be sharing the recording as earlier mentioned, and also this presentation that John and James have presented so perfectly. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for the sacrifice of your time. We really don't take it for granted at any point. So thank you. Asante sana. You have a good day. Also, before you leave, also please post something on LinkedIn on your takeaway. Tag James Ruigu. James, did I get it? James Ruigu. Tag
Yes,
James Ruigu. Amazing. Tag Wanjiro Kenya, and also tag Sharon Kamau on LinkedIn, and we will be sure to repost all those comments. And please take group screenshots for the participants. Okay, please take screenshots. And also remember to give us your feedback. Thank you so much once more. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing night.